In the far reaches of the galaxy, the Zeydar were a civilization once revered by all. Their wisdom spanned millennia, their technology unmatched. They had guided many young species, offering advice, knowledge, and aid. Their world, Zeydar Prime, was a shimmering jewel, a place of towering spires, endless libraries, and cities powered by the very stars. For thousands of years, the Zeydar had stood as pillars of knowledge, believing their place in the galaxy to be permanent. But even the greatest of civilizations are not immune to the relentless march of time. Zeydar Prime's sun, once bright and vibrant, had begun to falter. Scientists and scholars of the Zeydar studied it, and though they foresaw its slow death, they believed they had centuries, if not millennia, to prepare. They created theories, crafted plans, but there was no urgency. Until the sun began to die faster than anyone had anticipated. The once golden skies of Zeydar Prime turned dull, casting long shadows over their great cities. Crops withered, and the oceans grew colder. Panic spread, and the Zeydar Council, once so confident in their superiority, realized they were facing a disaster unlike any they had known. Their technological advancements could not stop the rapid decay of their sun. They were powerless in the face of nature's might. At first, the Zeydar turned inward, trying to solve the problem themselves. They constructed energy shields to trap heat, but it wasn't enough. They tried harnessing the power of nearby stars, but the process was too slow. As the temperature dropped and their world began to freeze, a growing fear spread across the planet. For the first time in their long history, the Zeydar felt hopeless. Desperate, the Council made a decision that shook their people to the core. They would ask for help. They sent out a message across the galaxy, calling on every advanced species they had once guided, mentored, or aided. It was a plea for assistance, for any technology, any resources that could stop the dying sun and save their civilization. Days passed, then weeks, and no one answered. The Zeydar had grown too proud over the years, isolating themselves from the galactic community. Their distant, sometimes cold attitude had made them respected, but not loved. And now, when they needed others, the silence was deafening. The Zeydar were on the brink of accepting their fate. As the final days of warmth slipped away, hope was all but gone. And then, humanity responded. The Zeydar barely remembered the humans. They were a younger race, having only recently spread to the stars in galactic terms. They had no vast empires, no grand fleets that rivaled the great powers. Yet, humanity had always been known for one thing: an unyielding spirit. Where other species saw limitations, humans saw possibilities. Where others gave up, humans fought on. The humans had received the distress call and, against all odds, had decided to help. At first, the Zeydar were skeptical. What could humanity possibly offer that their own technology could not? But when the first human ships appeared in their skies, packed with engineers, scientists, and vast amounts of resources, the Zeydar began to feel a faint spark of hope. The humans arrived with ideas, plans, and most importantly, an unshakable belief that the Zeydar could be saved. Their first task was stabilizing the sun. While the Zeydar had been trying to repair the sun with intricate technologies, the humans proposed a different solution. They suggested creating a network of massive solar shields that would orbit the sun, redirecting and amplifying its remaining energy toward Zeydar Prime. It was an audacious plan, and one that the Zeydar hadn't considered. But the humans had no time for doubt. They worked tirelessly alongside the Zeydar, constructing the enormous solar arrays. Human ingenuity and persistence shone through as they faced one obstacle after another. They developed new methods to harvest energy from nearby stars, utilizing the galaxy's natural forces to fuel the struggling planet. Weeks turned into months as human and Zeydar teams worked together. Despite their vastly different cultures, they found common ground in their determination to save Zeydar Prime. The Zeydar, who had once seen themselves as the pinnacle of evolution, began to admire the humans' creativity, adaptability, and unyielding will. As the solar shields were deployed, a faint warmth returned to Zera Prime. The planet, once teetering on the edge of an icy death, began to recover. Oceans thawed, crops sprouted, and for the first time in months, the skies above Zera Prime glowed with a warm, golden light. The Zeydar watched in awe as the humans achieved what they had thought impossible. The sun was still dying, but the solar shields and energy stations had bought them time, decades, maybe even centuries. Humanity had not just saved their world, they had given them hope. In the aftermath of the crisis, the Zeydar Council held a grand ceremony to honor the humans. The towering halls of Zera Prime's capital were filled with both Zeydar and human representatives, gathered together in a celebration that would be remembered for generations. The Zeydar Elder, a figure who had once looked down upon the younger races of the galaxy, stood before the crowd. Her voice, filled with emotion, echoed through the hall. Once, we believed that our knowledge was the greatest gift the galaxy had ever known. We believed we were untouchable, that no one could rival our power. But when our sun began to die, when our world grew cold, we realized how fragile we truly were. And when we called for help, it was the humans who answered. You, who we once saw as young and untested, have shown us that strength is not measured by age or power, but by heart and courage. You came to us not for reward, not for recognition, but because you believed we could be saved, and because of you, our world lives. The humans stood, not seeking praise or glory, but simply glad that they had been able to help. For them, it wasn't about being the saviors of an ancient race, it was about doing what was right. The Zeydar would never forget. From that day forward, they told the story of how, when their hope had faded, it was humanity who answered the call. The galaxy, once divided by pride and power, began to unite, inspired by the selflessness of a species that had once been underestimated. And in the end, humanity's greatest strength was revealed, not in their technology or their fleets, but in their unwavering determination to stand by others, even when the odds seemed impossible.